Pitch is swung on. It's a ground ball. It is going up the middle. It is fielded by the shortstop. Flips over the force to take him out of the inning. And in the top half of the second inning, no runs on 2 hits, no errors, 2 left.
Welcome to the BBA Today, your podcast that covers events around the Brewster Baseball Association every day with your host, Yellow Springs 9 General Manager, Ron Collins. And now, let's get on with the show.
All right, thank you, and welcome to the 3rd episode of the BBA Today. Back by popular demand or just back, whichever way it goes. I am here today with the Portland Lumberjack General Manager, Chris Wilson. Chris's Lumberjacks are kind of tearing up the league right now. A week ago, they were 13-12. If we'd happened to catch Chris right then, I think maybe you'd have seen him apoplectic. He had a little bit of a rough week this week. Chris, welcome to the show. Thank you for taking a few minutes of your time out today.
Thanks for having me back again, Ron. And I'm going to blame you for that last little sin. When you messaged me the other day, my team was 13-12, and I said, as soon as you messaged me, we're about to go downhill. And sure enough, a 1-5 sim has us now under 500.
I'm spreading the Yellow Springs plague is what's happening right there. It's like October in Yellow Springs all over every time I start to talk. I apologize for that, but actually 14-17 even for Portland, I think. You're in 4th place right now. You did have a pretty tough week, but otherwise I think Portland's first month of the season has to be considered a fairly successful one. What's going on there? What are your thoughts on your club this month?
Well, I think one of the things behind the scenes is we did play 20 home games in the opening month, and we managed to actually go 10-10 in those games. But I believe it's just some smoke and mirrors right now, to be honest with you. Looking here, I've got a negative 51 run differential right now. I'll gladly take the wins. 14-17, definitely the best start the Lumberjacks have had here in their 3rd season of existence, and still in the middle of the standings. So I'm pleased with that, but I think in the back of my mind, I fear the bottom is due to drop at any moment, and really worried about this next month. We play, I think it's only 6 home games and a lot of games on the road, and I believe we even have to go to the Heartland quite a bit, and that may not fare too well over the next month.
Yeah, I think that run differential is interesting, especially you're the one doing the spectacular recurring FUBAR feature. You've got your opening day loss of 5-19. That doesn't do a whole lot to your to your run differential. But then you've got a 14-9 loss and a 13-4 loss. It seems like when you lose, you're losing big, but you're winning a lot of pretty close games.
Yeah, we've only been in that feature one time. Oddly enough, opening day, we had that FUBAR loss and have managed to stay away from that ever since. We are 5-2 in 1 run game, so that helps, I guess, on the wins and losses, but doesn't help the run differential any.
Do you think that 1 run differential has something to say about your bullpen, or just raw luck, or who are the guys you think are making hay there?
I'm going to have to chalk that up to raw luck, considering the bullpen ERA is 6.17, and we are 13th out of 16 teams. I believe it's just luck right now. Like I said, I'm afraid that over the course of 162 games, it's going to begin to balance back out, and I'm afraid we'll see Portland back down near the bottom of the standings when it's all said and done. But I want to enjoy it right now. Again, middle of the standings right now, 14-17, the best start we've had. So I'll definitely enjoy it while it lasts.
What do you see what messages do you have for your Lumberjack fans as far as the future goes? Who should we be looking at over the next couple of months as precursors to where the Lumberjacks are going?
Really, over the next couple of months, I'm most likely just going to ride with what we've got. I do have a few guys in the minors that I probably could have brought up and maybe helped us with a few more wins here and there. I'm excited about Terrence Kelly a guy I got in one of the early trades. He's a high movement guy. I believe he would help my rotation out a little bit now. But I'm really trying to play the whole financial aspect too. Something I didn't do a very good job of when I was with Madison. Trying a little bit of a different approach there. Trying to make sure I stay in the green. And yeah, a rookie contract wouldn't make or break things, but over the course of 5 to 7 seasons, when those guys go to arbitration. They'll go a little earlier, I suppose, if I bring them up now. So trying to be a little bit more patient with my young guys. But as far as down the road this season, most likely what you see now is what you're going to get.
So what do you see as the Lumberjack window for stepping up into the upper division?
Yeah, well, when I first started, I told myself 5 seasons. Give myself 5 seasons to kind of get things going. Try to build up some prospects, and I still think that might be the window. This is year 3. I'm hoping that by year 5, like I said, with a few of the pitching guys that I've managed to draft, even the player I just drafted, he's a little bit more seasoned than some early draft picks. So I feel like I've got 2 to 3, if not maybe 4, pretty decent starting pitchers on the horizon, and from what I can tell, I think what the league is seeing is if you can have, 3 or 4 pretty good starting pitchers, you might be able to make a pretty good run in the league, considering we're such a pitching short league right now. So I'm kind of hoping that within the next two seasons, when those young guys I've gotten, and none of them are studs by any means, but I believe I could build a solid 5-man rotation with even if it is just 5 threes. That could be, good enough to maybe stick around in a division hunt.
Well, yeah, and I think at the end of the day, when you look at your current schedule and performance, right? If you were to remove those FUBARs, right? If you could just put some pitchers out there that just don't lose,
yeah.
What was it? I think it was Doug that I was interviewing last was saying, I don't mind getting beat. I just don't like to lose. I think there's a lot to be said for that. Let me turn the corner here a little bit. You have been doing some spectacular essays for the media guide around the All-Star Pantheon, and for some of the newer general managers in the league, I think those are really beneficial. I'm really interested, now that I've got a few minutes of your time, why did you start doing that? How did it come about?
Well, I had done it, years ago. I had actually posted it on the forums. I don't know how many seasons ago that was, but it was quite a while ago. It was actually an idea I got from reading the Bill Simmons book of basketball, where he basically just took I think he might have taken all the Hall of Famers in the NBA and just ranked them from 1 down to however many there were. And I actually, the first time I did it, I ranked every Hall of Famer from 1 to, I think at the time we had about 80. And I just ranked them from the best to the worst. This most recent, doing it in the media guide, I started out trying to rank them from 1 to, I think we're up to about 140 now. And it was becoming very time-consuming trying to split hairs between, number 80 and 84, which player was better and which wasn't. So I just decided to break them up into the levels, like Bill Simmons had did. I think we all agree that we've got Hall of Famers, but some Hall of Famers are better than others. So I just decided to take that idea and break them into 4 levels. The level 1 being the bottom guys, they're still Hall of Famers, but not as superior as the guys who are in the Pantheon, who I consider to be the best of the best. And the key's always been trying to keep it like a pyramid, to where the bottom, the base level, the level 1, contains more players than level 2, and then level 3 has less, and then the Pantheon contains the smallest number and the best. And what I look to do here, I guess next season for the media guide, is take the guys that I've missed over the last 4 seasons and add those guys and put them in the level that I feel that they belong into.
Yeah, I like that a lot, and actually that's one of the things that has really struck me over the past couple of years as I've watched you go about doing that, is I know you're kind of a advocate for a small hall, and I think as you start looking at when I start looking at the levels of the pyramid, you kind of get a flavor for, like you said, not all Hall of Famers are created equal in that sense, right? And there are Hall of Famers, I think, that are in there as much for their story as for their exploits, and those kind of go into the lowest layer, and then you start getting, the just really super solid players are in the next layer. And then I think where I tend to get the most enjoyment is looking at the top Pantheon that you just put out this last episode issue, and the layer 2, right? Those are the for me, that's where it starts to get really messy, and I appreciate your work on that. Is that when you are breaking them between levels, do you have any particular levels that you find most difficult to break?
I think what for me the most difficult part was trying to decide the last guy to get in a certain level and who the top guy is. Like who's the best player from level 3, which means that player got left out of the Pantheon, and then who's kind of the bottom player of the Pantheon, and then you start to compare. Who's better? Should that guy maybe have bumped up, another guy have bumped down? And that's where it gets tricky, where I've tried to keep it sort of percentage based. Basically, I try to look at the Pantheon's the top 10%. So when you've got 130 Hall of Famers, that means the top 10% is just 12 or 13 guys. So if you go 13, then who's the 14th? Does he have a case to be Pantheon, or is he just the best of the ones who got left out? And I've never had a chance to talk with some other general managers. I know someone like, Matt would probably disagree with the fact that I put, Chris Stoller in level 3 and not in the Pantheon. I noticed in the media guide, he actually had Stoller as one of the top pitchers in one of the pieces that he had done. So he had him as a top pitcher, and I didn't even have him in the Pantheon Hall of Fame. So, again, and the thing is, the Hall of Fame, the Pantheon is that's just my take on it. And I guess disagreement's what makes it a little more enjoyable to do, because it does open up discussion.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And I think that's one of the great things. One of the things I'm enjoying the most about where I am at right now, because I've been in the league now since 2025. So what does that make it? Holy cows. I'm going to be getting close to 20 seasons pretty soon. I'm getting to the point where I know all the players who were of my era, but I don't know the past, except for what, guys like you and Matt, and, when Ted was doing his thing, and I know Randy's doing a lot of work in trying to dig through the past. So I really appreciate all of that work, and I do like the disagreements, right, as far as that goes. And now, as far as maybe stirring up some conversation about our current players, have you had any opportunity to look at guys you think are going to go into the Pantheon at some level?
Well, I think the first one I want to look hard at, and this will go into to the next media guide, is going to be Ricardo Diaz. Mm-hmm. I looked at him and started comparing just briefly. His strikeout total, he's second all time behind Steve Nebraska. So, he's got 200 some wins. He's got the hardware. He's got the strikeout totals. I'll have to kind of look and see who I have where there. But Diaz definitely has a good chance to get put into the Pantheon. As far as players playing now, I'll have to look hard when he retires at Gilstrom. Jared Gilstrom obviously is going to be a first ballot easy Hall of Famer. I believe he ranks 6th or 7th all time already in WAR. And probably still has another couple seasons left if he doesn't retire. As far as young guys go, Dennis French, long way to go, but he's obviously on a pretty good start to his career. And we've got that draft class that we just had there in I guess 2039. If those guys put up the offensive numbers over the long haul, there'll be guys to look at there as well.
Alrighty, how about projections on whether Hall of Famers Dusty Rhodes, Emilio Morales? Those are the two names that are kind of bouncing around. Are those guys Hall of Famers for you?
I'm going to say yes on Rhodes. I think the hit total just puts him in. I don't know what he's at off the top of my head, but I think he's over Yeah, I think he's over 33, at least 3,300 hits. And as being a former Madison player, a guy that I had on my team during my, high contact heyday there with Madison, he'll get my vote for sure. Morales most likely will as well. He's still got, some time left. He's just 32 years of age. He's already at that, 500 home run plateau. I know the debate will be his home park, but you figure if he plays another, 5 or 6 seasons at least and gets to close to 600 home runs. And I've mentioned this before. I'm a counting stat guy, so when a guy gets to 3,000 hits, and someone like Morales, who's already over 500, most likely will get close to 600 home runs before he retires. That's going to say a lot. Most likely get my vote, even if their WAR number may dictate otherwise.
Yeah. No, I think that's interesting. It's an interesting comparison because both of them are counting stat kind of guys, and Rhodes is closer to the end of his career, so you can actually see what the picture is with Morales. He's got another 4 or 5 years of playing to go, so he's going to continue to be a topic of conversation until his numbers actually count.
Yeah, and then with the counting stat argument, it allows me to argue a little bit more for a couple of my guys like Steve Dempsey and John Mick.
Well, there you go. All right, Chris, I appreciate your time here today, and I think we'll wrap that up for our episode number 3 of the BBA Today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Ron.
You've been listening to the BBA Today, a podcast that covers the Brewster Baseball Association every day. Music is Bold Statement, available at BesleyandStudios.com and used with attribution. Be safe and well, and we will hear you again tomorrow.